Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Pygmalion, written by George Bernard Shaw. Now, before I go into the summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, in this play by George Bernard Shaw, we're introduced to Professor Henry Higgins, and he's a very interesting character. If you're reading this play, or if you're going to read this play, or if you've read this play already, you really have to pay attention to how the characters speak, because this play is all about language and phonetics and just how people talk. So you have to really pay attention to how Henry Higgins speaks, the phrases he used, because he uses a lot of phrases within the play that people just don't use anymore. Or I guess I'm reading this from a I guess United States standpoint, or English to me is normal in the U.S. I guess maybe in England they speak it how Henry Higgins is speaking it, because there's some phrase that he uses that I just never heard before. So you really have to pay attention to that, depending on where you're from. So basically, the play is very interesting, and it begins in London, and all of these characters they're kind of like underneath a church covering in front of this massive church. And they're all kind of like hiding from the rain. It's raining really hard, and underneath this covering, you have people in the middle class, people who are in pretty much people who are poor, people who are in poverty, and people who are in the upper class, and they're all kind of like underneath this covering in front of this church, trying to wait for a cab so that they can get out of the rain. And all of the cabs are busy. There are no cabs to be found, because everybody's using a cab, and no one wants to get wet. And we quickly meet a man by the name of Freddie, his mother by the name of Ainsford Hill, and his sister Clara. Mrs. Ainsford Hill, she actually sends Freddie out to find a cab, even though there are no cabs to be found. He's just pretty much running in the rain, getting wet, because his mother is just, she just wants a cab. So he goes off, and before he actually goes off to find a cab, he bumps into Eliza Doolittle, who is a very important character within this play. And he knocks over her flowers, and she calls him Freddie. She's kind of angry because all her flowers were knocked down. She's a flower girl. That's how she makes her money. That's how she makes ends meet. And Eliza Doolittle, she's a woman of the streets. Her parents were not there to raise her. They're like her father's alive, but he's a deadbeat. And he's not really around for her. So Eliza, she has to fend for herself. She doesn't speak proper. She never had a formal education. She doesn't know how to write. She doesn't know how to read. She knows enough about money, about the society that she lives in to survive. And basically, Freddie goes off. She's like, picking up her flowers. And the fact that she actually calls Freddie, alarms Freddie's mother, and she jumps into action. She actually questions Eliza, and she says, "How do you know my son?" And she's very mad, because you have to think about during this time, during the period that Pygmalion is set in. People of the upper middle class, they do not mingle with people that who are in poverty, because it's a class system. You stay with your class, and everybody's just trying to climb up, and no one wants to be held down. So if there is a relationship between Freddie and Eliza, it would be disastrous for Mrs. Ainsford Hill, because her place in society would be questioned. The thing is, Eliza doesn't know anything about Freddie. She's never met Freddie in her life. She just calls her Freddie because I guess this is something that's common in England, in London, that I guess you call people, random men, Freddie. That's what Eliza says. So we're gonna go with that. So basically, the play goes on, and everybody's just stuck underneath this covering, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting, and basically a commotion starts, where Eliza, she's very aggressive, right? She's trying to sell her flowers. She never takes a day off. She's just trying to make ends meet. And there's this one man she sells flowers to. He gives her money, but he doesn't take a flower. And a bystander comes forward. He says, you should give that man a flower because some people might think that you're a prostitute because he paid you and you didn't give him a flower, so that might be enough for a prostitution charge. And Eliza, throughout the play, what she does is she keeps on saying that she's a good girl. So whenever somebody accuses her of doing something bad, Eliza always jumps into action and she's like, I'm a good girl, I'm a good girl. And this starts a commotion. People start saying there's a narc in the crowd. There's an informer. And the thing is, like, there is a note taker in the crowd, a note taker that's like ferociously writing down notes. And they start to question him, and they're saying, "Are you the informer? Are you going? You're going to be a narc and tell policemen on us?" And the note taker is actually Professor Henry Higgins, and Higgins is saying, "I'm not a narc. I don't know what that is." And he says, "I'm a professor of linguistics, of phonetics. I study language. I teach people how to speak better." He actually proves this to them by telling them, he tells different people in the crowd that you're from this country, you're from this part of England, you're from this part of London, or this and that and the third. So he proves himself. The commotion goes on until the rain stops, and people are like, "Oh, the rain stopped. I'm gonna get out of here." So that happens, and the next significant thing that happens within the first act is that um, the bystander reveals to, I guess, to Higgins and to whoever was listening that he is actually Colonel Pickering, another educated individual in language and phonetics. And Henry Higgins, he's like, "Oh my goodness, I love your work. Your work is amazing." And they just become best friends right then and there. They're like, "Okay, you should come to my house. You should come to my place. We're going to talk about language. I'm going to show you my discoveries and all of this and everything I know." So they become best friends. They skip together and go to the next scene. Eliza's kind of like left by herself, picking up her flowers and in the rain. And um, Higgins actually throws money at her. He doesn't take flowers, but he doesn't. He kind of wants to be somewhat of a good person, so he helps out the poor in of a sense. So he throws money at Eliza and walks away. So that's pretty much the first scene. At the end, a little funny thing happens where Freddy actually comes with a cab, but there's nobody there for the cab. Eliza ends up taking the cab home because that money that Higgins gave her, it was a lot of money or enough money to take a cab. So she takes the cab and Freddy's left there by himself. Poor Freddy. So, okay, the play goes on. We go on to the next play. And basically, what happens is that Eliza goes to Henry Higgins' house and she demands lessons. And Henry Higgins says, "I don't want anything to do with you." But Eliza, she demands lessons. She says she wants to be educated. She wants to um, get a place at a flower shop in London so that she doesn't have to stand on the streets anymore. And Higgins, he didn't want to teach her, but Colonel Pickering makes a bet with Higgins, and Pickering says, "If you teach her and if you're successful at it, I'll pay for all of her lessons, which are very expensive." I mean, Eliza offered to pay for herself, but it's not really. She doesn't have that much money. So Pickering says, "I'll pay for it." They burn Eliza's clothes. She protests to this. She doesn't understand sarcasm. So again, Eliza, she's not educated. She never went to school. Um, she never, she's not as smart as Higgins and Pickering. So when they go off into their tangents, into their, speeches and things like that, she can't keep up with them, and she doesn't really understand what they're saying. So basically, the story goes on. They burn her clothes, even though she protests to this. They burn her clothes, and Higgins kind of like makes this huge promise that he is going to turn Eliza into this lady of tomorrow, this lady that will be welcomed at the king's palace, this lady that's going to marry a general, a person of politics, an important person. He really goes into it. He's like, "I'm going to make a woman out of this gutter trash." And Higgins, he's a bully. He doesn't treat anybody nice within the play. He bullies everybody. So he calls Eliza trash left and right. So the play goes on, and basically what happens next, they start teaching Eliza. But before all of this happens, though, Alfred Doolittle comes into the picture. Eliza's father comes into the picture. He's like, "I need money and I need it now." And basically, um, Higgins had to pay Alfred Doolittle £5, and he's a swindler. That's what he does throughout his life or the play. He just knows how to get into rich people's pockets. And what happens actually that's actually very significant is that Higgins is so he's the way he acts is extremely funny because he actually writes a letter to a millionaire in America within the play. And he says how Alfred Doolittle is a man of high morals, a man who he's very strong. He's a strong man. He's a man that other people should follow because he has high morals, and it's a man that society should follow. He writes this letter, and he's being sarcastic. He's being funny. He's like poking fun at Alfred and how he's a horrible father. That's what he's trying to say, but he's very sarcastic about it. So he sends this letter to his rich friend in America. So that's pretty much what happens to Alfred. He goes off after he gets this £5 from Higgins. He just goes off, and we don't see him for a while. He gets drunk. He buys things here and there. He gets in relationships with a lot of different women. So Alfred Doolittle, he never took care of his daughter. He's a bum, and that's who he is. So the play goes on. Eliza starts her education. She gets taught. Higgins works hard. Pickering works hard. But the thing is, like, Higgins never stops calling her trash. He never respects her. There's different sayings that he uses here and there, but the idea is that to Higgins, Eliza is just something he picked off of the street, out of the gutter, and he's going to make something special out of her. Um, Pickering doesn't treat Eliza that way. Pickering is really nice towards Eliza. He treats her like a lady. Um, Higgins is this person. He'll throw his boots anywhere. He'll eat like a savage, even though he's a member of the upper class. He'll eat like a savage. He'll do whatever he wants, and he'll treat everybody the same. Women, men, whoever. He's just all about himself. Now, before all this happens, before Pickering had a bet with Higgins about Eliza, about teaching Eliza, um, Pickens did say that he doesn't want Higgins to fall in love with Eliza or to go after her in a lustful way, and Higgins never does because Higgins. There's a passage within the play that tells us that Higgins is just not interested in women. He's taught a lot of models, a lot of beautiful women, and he's never approached them sexually because he's pretty much above all that. He's not after lust. He's not after women. He's just a man. His mind is so powerful. He's so brilliant that that's all beneath him. And he even says that why would he waste his time with women? Because if he gets married, his wife is gonna want to go this way. He's gonna go want to go that way, and they're never going to be happy because he's an alpha. He's a strong man. He's an alpha. He does what he wants, and nobody can control what he does. So the play goes on. Eliza learns. She learns how to speak properly. She learns manners from Colonel Pickering. Like he never knew that was happening, but she actually learns manners from Colonel Pickering by the way he acts and the way he talks. But the phonetics, the linguistics, the words that she uses, the phrases that she uses, that all comes from Higgins. They test all of this out when they go to Higgins' mother's house, and they kind of have this little get together where Mrs. Ainsford Hill is there, along with Clara and Freddie, and Pickering is there, Higgins is there, and Eliza comes in, and everybody is stunned. She's beautiful. They give her nice clothes because they burned her clothes. So they gave her new clothes. She's beautiful. She's pretty. She looks like an upper class woman, and she passes, right. Mrs. Ainsford Hills thinks that she's an upper class woman. Clara thinks that Eliza's an upper class woman, and she passes. I mean, Mrs. Higgins, she doesn't fall for it, but everybody else does. Freddie can't stop looking at Eliza. There were some problems, but they go back to the shop or go back to their home, and Higgins keeps working with Eliza until she becomes perfect. And he's extremely happy by the end of the play because he turned Eliza from trash to something valuable. Now, the problem that occurs is that, with all these new skills, what is going to happen to Eliza now? Because of the fact that she has been taught how to be a proper lady. Now, what is she going to do with her life? So basically, what happens is that um, Higgins and Pickering, they're kind of like just one night where they're kind of like admiring each other's work. They're like, man, we did a great job. We did a wonderful job. We turned this gutter, well, Higgins was saying this. Higgins was like, I turned this gutter trash into something important, right? And the other thing is that they never, Eliza's a tender soul, right? She wants to be um, thanked or seen as a human being by Higgins, but Higgins never gives that to her, and she actually gets very upset because Higgins is like, "Man, I'm happy. I'm done with this girl. I don't have to deal with her. I taught her what she wanted. She knows how to speak the language properly, so I don't have to waste my time with her anymore." And for Higgins, Eliza could have just spent the rest of her life at his house and getting his slippers and keeping track of his appointments and things like that. But Eliza was like, man, I can't go back to the streets to sell flowers anymore. I can't go to a flower shop and sell flowers. I don't know what to do with my life. And Higgins is like, how is that my problem? And this is something that came throughout the play where Higgins' maid or a house servant kind of told him, you have to think about the girl's future. You're going to teach her all these things, but she has no future. She has no father to provide for her, and who is she going to get married to? Because now you've taken her out of the streets, but there's no future for her. So all this goes down, and by the end of the play, what ends up happening is that um, Eliza, there's a huge fight. Um, Eliza tells Pickering it's because of him that she knows she's been treated as a lady. She gets respect. Um, Eliza and Higgins, they have this huge fight. But they don't. You would expect them to become a couple, or even at the end of the play, you'd think that they would become a couple, but they don't become a couple. Higgins is just above that. He loves art. He loves music. He loves the finer things. He has no time for women. Eliza ends up, or she ends up marrying Freddie, which is kind of a bad thing because Freddie has no money. And so they kind of like at the end they make a shop, or they start a flower shop together. They can't read. I mean, Higgins taught Eliza how to speak properly and how to behave properly, but she didn't. She never went to school. She didn't know math that well. She goes to school. She learned a little bit of math, and that never works out. But the flower shop gives them some money. They live together, Freddie and Eliza. They kind of have a happy ending. And Colonel Pickering and Higgins, they stay together and study the finer things in life and wonder about the great things in life. Clara, she also becomes like a shop person. She doesn't become a higher person in society. Mrs. Ainsford Hill, she doesn't become a higher person in society. She was hoping that her kids would marry rich people. That doesn't happen. So that's how their lives end. And I mean, Eliza, you would expect her to become rich and famous. That doesn't happen. She just becomes a shop owner, which is really significant because in most plays, most people would expect them to become huge things. Because every story, every novel, you always get these over the top endings where the main characters fall in love and they have wonderful kids and they live happily ever after. That doesn't happen in this play. This play is really, gives you straight up facts. Sometimes people don't get happy endings. Eliza, she's not worse off. She gets a shop. Higgins helps her out. She gets some respect from him, but not all respect. There were some. You would think that there was some lust between them, and in some ways there were, but nothing significant. So, in terms of analysis, in terms of the deeper meaning of this play, I think that you have to look at the old ancient story of Pygmalion. That's where the title of this play comes from. The ancient sculptor Pygmalion, he sculpted a woman that was extremely beautiful, and he prayed to the goddess Athena. Oh no, Aphrodite, excuse me. He prayed to Aphrodite. Aphrodite turned the sculpture into a woman, and the sculpture it became a woman. And Pygmalion was extremely happy. The artist, the sculptor Pygmalion, he was extremely happy. He married his sculpture, and she was extremely beautiful, and he was extremely satisfied. That's kind of like what happens to Eliza and Higgins within the play, except they don't get married. But Higgins, he transforms Eliza from a woman in the gutter, in the trash, to a woman of upper class. In the end, the most funniest part of this play to me is when Eliza's father comes back into the picture, Alfred Doolittle. He comes back rich, right? He comes back rich. If you guys remember the letter, I talked about the letter that Higgins wrote to the American, the rich American, at the beginning of the play. The rich American died, and he left a bunch of money to Alfred Doolittle so that he would speak about good morals to English society. And Alfred Doolittle, he's like extremely upset because he liked being a dustman. A dustman is just a trash collector, a bum. He liked being a bum because nobody depended on him. His daughter didn't depend on him. No one depended on him. And so Alfred Doolittle, he's extremely mad and unsatisfied by what Higgins did to him because now he has to provide for people. He can't be a bum. He can't be a swindler. And they said to him, why, Mrs. Higgins and Pickering, they say, why don't you just give up the money, right? He was like getting $3,000 a month, or $3,000 a year, and Alfred is like, I can't do this because I want to be a bum. I've never seen anybody wish to be a bum, but Alfred Doolittle wanted to be a bum. He wanted to be a bum. So he gets money. He has money. He's no longer a bum. He's a person of the middle class, which is really funny because you could see how many people throughout the play wanted to be have a better lot in life. Mrs. Ainsford Hill and Clara and Freddie, they all wanted to be something better in life. But this bum who wanted to be nothing, he's the one that gets to be in the upper middle class and dine with famous people and royalty because of the fact that he's a swindler and he's a good talker. And Higgins was, had this moment of sarcasm that he went through and wrote a letter to a rich person. So that was extremely funny to me. And there are some other funny moments. I mean, the moment where Pickings tells Higgins that he can't go after Eliza lustfully, and Higgins replies, "Oh, I'm a block of wood. Women are a block of wood." And I'm like, "You're a block of wood, huh?" So there's some very funny moments in this. The other thing I would say that's significant in terms of meaning with this play is how Eliza just wanted to find her own identity, her own respect. I mean, some women would just break down Higgins and try to marry him, but Eliza didn't want to live a life of fights and being, her husband to tell her that she's horrible. Higgins even tells her, I don't want anything to do with you. If you want a husband, if you want me to respect you, get out of my face. Go find a husband with a big pair of lips to kiss you with and a big pair of boots to kick you with. So all of that took place. So this play very different, no happy endings. It just they're all okay by the end of it. Some people are happy, some people are not happy, but they all survive, and there's no millionaires or whatever. The other thing is some people who have studied this play, they've said that Pickings and Higgins might be gay because they're two men living in a really rich house, and they're like walking around with their robes on, talking about literature and fine art and music. So I could see how some people might think that, but they're not. They're old men, and they're like, we're above all of that. We just want to study the fine things in the world. So that's my summary analysis of Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.